Thanks again for joining us with Talking with Tatum. Today we're speaking with Commissioner Chad Barnard, who's the Commissioner of the 4th Civil District of Wilson County. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Judge.
Well, it's really a treat and to find out about the folks who serve on our county commission. And part of your career, we'll get into it here in just a few minutes, is people may not know it, that you're the person behind something that I imagine most of our viewers have seen. But before we get to that, tell us a little bit about Chad Barnard, where you grew up, and about your family, where you went to school.
Well, yes, sir. My name is Chad Barnard, and I'm 49 years old, and I was born and raised in LaGuardia, 791 East Old LaGuardia Road.
Okay.
My dad worked at Nashville Gas, and my mom worked at a bank in Nashville, and he decided to, found some land in Lebanon there, and moved up there, and been there all my life.
So were you born in Nashville?
Yes, sir. I was born in Nashville. We were living at in Hendersonville until they got the house built.
Okay.
And then when I was born, we stayed in Hendersonville about a year, and then moved into LaGuardia there.
So we got about 5 decades worth of time in Wilson County, or close to
just
it,
about. Yes, sir.
In there. But down there off of East Old LaGuardia Road, just north of Highway 70, and so I guess you went to school at that time, probably Mount Juliet.
Yes, sir. I went to West Elementary, and then actually I went to Castle Heights for 3 years,
Okay.
4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And then I decided to go back to Mount Juliet, and went to the Mount Juliet Junior High, and then graduated from the Mount Juliet High School.
And after high school, what did you do?
Well, actually, when we moved here, my daddy was, like I said, worked for Nashville Gas, and we visited a little church over here on Picker Ridge Road,
Mm-hmm.
and the Manning's Appliance, Wesley Manning.
Yes, sir.
They went to our church, and he got to talking to Daddy about service work, and he said, "You need to get into the appliance end of it." So Daddy pretty much went into business with him, and done that for 2 or 3 years. And at the time, Mount Juliet didn't really have anybody servicing appliances, locally.
Right.
So he was at the point, Mr. Manning said, "Well, I'm gonna work till I die, probably." So Daddy sold his half back to him and moved to Mount Juliet, where he kind of wouldn't be interfere with his customers.
Right.
And started his own appliance business, and that was probably 78 or 79.
And it was Barnard's Appliance.
And so he named it Barnard Appliance. And so then air conditioners was real big at that time,
Mm-hmm.
wind air conditioners. So in the summertime, me and my buddy be out there playing. He's like, "Hey, why don't y'all go with me for a couple hours and help me pull out some of these air conditioners?" So we would do that, and then as I got older, a little bit older, I'd work with him in the summer months and stuff. So I graduated in '88 with him, or graduated from high school in '88, and I went with him full time then.
Okay, so went straight into it, but you had a lot of experience before that.
Pretty much. Used to, when Mr. Manning had his place right up here by the fairgrounds, I'd go in the summer months and I'd clean wind air conditioners and mop the floor, whatever
Right.
they'd want me to do. So I you learn a lot from them times.
Yeah.
And so when Daddy went on his own and stuff, I started helping him more.
Right.
And then he's like, "Son, you need to really learn this business. You're going to you'll be tough when, young man." He said he waited later, see. So,
Right.
So anyway, he really stayed on me about learning it and stuff. So I worked with him and rode with him for 7 years. And he told me, he said, "One day you're going to take over this empire." And he was a kind of funny man and stuff.
Right.
So we were born and raised in Maple Hill Church of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of a sudden one day he had a brain aneurysm when I was 23, and he just turned 49.
Mm-hmm.
And so that empire turned real quick. I had to take it over.
Big responsibility at a young age.
Yes, sir. I rode with him for 7 years full time.
Right.
And that was the best 7 years I ever had.
Right.
Not only did I learn a lot from him, but it put me in customers' houses. So when little Miss Ruth was there, she's like, "Well, you was here with your daddy, you're fine," So,
Right.
So that it's just been kind of real, but it's been good.
So he started off just kind of on his own, and
Yes, sir.
And you helped him, and you've continued on in that.
He would always say my mom saved the day because she had a pretty good job at the bank, and so she always kind of, from month to month, you never did know, if he had calls or what, So.
Well, it's great to have that kind of work ethic, but also to have that experience. You can look back sharing time with your dad that
Yes,
Did
sir.
get to share a lot of years with him.
We had a good relationship and stuff. Matter of fact, I left a guy's ice cream on his refrigerator one day when the man had to go to work and left a key. And at the time of my career with him, I was a little nervous with the customers.
Right.
So this man, we knew him, and he's like, well, Ed, I had to leave a key. He said, do you mind? So Daddy sent me over there, and I got in there, and long drawn out story, I fixed it, but he come home, so we got a problem. You left the ice cream on top of the refrigerator. It melted and run all down in the carpet. Dog got sick, throwed up everywhere. So Daddy fired me, and I come home crying, and my granny was living with us. She lived with us for years, my mom's mom. So she threatened to leave, and Mama got home. She threatened to divorce him. So he hired me back.
So you were fired for how long?
Probably about overnight.
Okay.
Yeah, he had to hire me back the next morning.
That's the only time that's ever happened.
And he apologized. So yeah, that was the only time we really had a problem.
But as after your dad passed, you took over the day-to-day business responsibilities. You've continued on in that career.
Yes, sir.
And do you have anybody helping you?
No, sir. I do it myself. My mom's retired from the bank now,
Right.
and so she answers my phone or our phone full time. So, and then I do all the service work.
Well, something else, and we kind of touched on this in the introduction. Your dad and mom started a tradition, and you have grown this. I would call it probably over the top, because anybody that around Christmas time driving up Highway 109, what are they going to see just north of Highway 70?
Well, they're going to see a lot of Christmas lights. And it's funny you say it, my mom and dad. Actually, I started that.
You did?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How old were you?
12. 12 years old. And it's kind of funny because used to when we'd be on service calls, I'd be behind the refrigerator, and Daddy'd be over there drinking coffee with him at the kitchen table. And I was on the job training, he always said.
Right.
And he said, I'm just showing you what I know. So anyway, they'd say, Mr. Barnard, you do a fine job on your Christmas lights. And I'm thinking, dang, I'm the one out there every night doing it. And so he always got a big kick out of that. And but actually, we'd go to my aunt's every year, or every Sunday actually, and have eat lunch and stuff.
Right.
She'd always cook. And she always decorated for all the holidays. And so when I was about 11 years old, she said, won't you take some of these lights home, put around your house? Because I'd always get out there and help her and stuff.
Right.
So I come home and put around the house, and I hadn't stopped. I just keep adding.
Well, it keeps adding, and I'm sorry, I thought it was something your parents had started, but
No,
it
sir.
was 12 years. You got the inspiration from an aunt when you were 11 or 12 years old.
Yeah, a lot of people know Cliff Carey.
Yeah.
And at the time, he was a manager at Burchett Ford.
Right.
And I might have been 14 then, and I was doing a little bit each year, you know. But he sent me a real nice plaque, just like, man, we thank you for your lights, and you do a great job. And I still got that. I mean, it's just, I always remembered that, you know. And so, and then I think the Democrat or one of them come along when I was about 15 and done a story and put it in the paper. And it's always fun in a good way to see your picture in the paper.
Well, it brings a lot of joy to
Yes, sir.
people that, little kids love to see the lights, and it's really something to see. How many, just out of curiosity, how many lights do you have?
Well, this year I'm advertising 2.8 million. So close, I probably got close to 3 million lights. And,
3 million lights.
Yes, sir.
LEDs are a great thing, aren't they?
I've actually, I'm 80% LED. I've still got the old style, the incandescent.
Right.
But yeah, they are a great thing for your electrical.
I was about to say those incandescents draw a lot of power.
Well, actually, when I first started, you know, that's all I had was incandescent.
Right.
And so I've added breaker boxes through the years. And I've got like I had 9 meters with 18 breaker boxes.
Wow.
Through 8 acres.
Right.
And so every year I've added something. And actually from 82 to 2000, I just had it where you drove by.
Right.
And my dad said, you know, look, he said, you do it for fun. He said, don't never make no money out of it, or,
Right.
you know, no donation boxes. If it gets to that point, I'd quit it. Well, when he died, I almost didn't do it that year because he died around September.
Right.
And I started, so then I started putting them out. I thought, well, I can't quit. Well, anyway, I thought I'm gonna put me a donation box down there at the road because I want to add, you know. And I could only ask my granny
Right.
or whoever enough. You know, they only had so much money they could give, so I always had a high dollar light bill. So I put a donation box. Well, that didn't do too well, but I put me a counter down there, and the counter opened my eyes because on my busy nights, I'd have 1,000 cars pass my mailbox.
1,000 cars.
Up and down, like go up my
Right.
road and turn around. And that was neighbors and,
Right.
Whatever. So anyway, I thought, well, I need to open this up, because people want to see more. So I thought, you know what, I'm not going to charge or anything. So I thought, I'm going to sell Christmas trees. So Bill Heidel, a local man, a real nice guy, never met him before, but he owned a piece of property across the street from me. So I thought, it's kind of flooded area and stuff. So I called and I said, would you want to sell this piece of property over here? And he's like, no, not really. He said, can I ask you what you want to do with it? And I said, well, I want to sell Christmas trees. He said, well, I tell you what, he said, bring me some proof of insurance and you can just use the thing. I don't care what you do on it. And so I went, got the insurance, took to him. So I opened me a Christmas tree lot up. So that was a way I could help offset some of my cost. So I did that. Well, I got to noticing, normally when I turn my lights on, I go to the house. And then about 10 o'clock, I'd walk down, turn them off. Every once in a while, somebody'd be riding by and say, thank you. So for your lights and stuff. So long drawn out story, I'd be there with them trees. People say, man, we come from Bowling Green every year to see this. Really? And they said, we want to drive through your archways. And I said, well, I'm not really set up for that. Because I'd always envisioned having a walk through somewhere.
Right.
And I thought when I got older and married, whatever, I'd do that. Well, when my dad died, it just kind of changed everything. So I opened up a drive-through, and I guess the rest is history.
What's the count run now when you, since you've opened a drive-through, how many cars do you have coming through?
Actually, I opened it in 2000, and about 5 years after that, Tennessee Magazine did a story. I had 1,040 cars in one night.
Wow.
And that's crazy.
Right.
Because you think a car, that's a lot of cars, trying to get through there.
And you think about it's not just one person in a car, there's at least two, sometimes probably a whole family.
Oh yeah, you never know. So, but anyway, so I had 1,040 in about 2005, and then I was lucky enough to get on this great Christmas light fights in 2014, and that was, nationwide kind of thing.
Right.
And I had 1,200 something one night. So I have anywhere from 18 to 22,000 cars, depending on the weather.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's doesn't sound like you're going to slow down at all, and if anything, you're going to be breaking 3 million.
Well, I'm fixing to turn 50 next year, and so it's kind of like, and then I added a bunch this year, and I think I need to start scaling it back, but I enjoy it.
Well, part of what we wanted to profile is your public service career, and the Christmas lights are sort of a public service, but you decided to run for county commission.
Yes, sir.
And what prompted that?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but I'll make it short. Actually, my previous commissioner, I wasn't happy with some of the stuff he had done, and I had a little trouble with one of my neighbors over some water issues, and I wasn't really happy with the way all that kind of turned out. And I've always been around, being in the area and stuff, just kind of knew about a commissioner.
Right.
And Luther Lennon used to be our commissioner. Okay. Everybody know Luther.
Yeah.
And then Bobby Sloan was our commissioner.
Right.
So I've always known all those guys and stuff. And so anyway, one day I had a little trouble, so I thought, I'm just going to run. I probably won't win, but I'm going to run against him. So in working in the community, I thought, well, I'll give it a shot. So every time I was at a customer's house that was in my district, I'd say, hey, I'm here to fix your refrigerator, but I appreciate your vote.
Yeah.
And so anyway, they're like, man, you got my ice cream hard as a rock. You got my vote. So anyway, I won. And so I didn't know nothing about it and stuff. And it's fun.
Well, going into it, with no political experience and deciding to run, what was maybe one of the big surprises that maybe you didn't realize going into it that I didn't know it was going to be like this?
It's just when you leave a room where you voted, you got a group that's mad at you and a group for you.
Right.
So I like for everybody to be happy and, I don't want to be that bad guy. So I try to, but when you look at the county, it's like no other, or it's like any other business, you got a lot of behind the scenes stuff. All these departments that's got needs and stuff. So I see that, it's like my Christmas thing. Sometimes people will come through there and they don't see all the behind the scenes and
don't see all the work you did back in September and October.
Yeah, when I'm ordering, $4,000 or $5,000 worth of bulbs in May, I mean, it's, they just, so I kind of felt like I kind of knew some of that. So it's been really a neat experience and got to meet other people that you know may have never really got to meet a lot of,
Right.
you know, in the past. So I've really enjoyed it.
Well, one of the big concerns going on right now with Wilson County and anybody involved in public service in Wilson County is growth. And of course that causes more expenses with services that are provided by government, creates an additional tax burden. You wonder where all these people are going to live and how the infrastructure is going to hold up. What are some things that you would like to see Wilson County focus on in the next 5 years or so?
Well, the only thing that I've seen that's, you know, I'm in my middle of my third term, so I've been here 10 years.
Right.
And as soon as I got elected, it seemed like everything was starting to turn around
Right.
and start hopping. And I feel like, you know, just speaking for myself, it's like, you know, just all the time, it's like on and going, you know, trying to keep up with all the growth and everything. Some of these subdivisions coming in here, you know, they're putting the houses a lot closer.
Right.
So they're flooding out the schools. And then, you know, that's our, you know, I always said, you know, when these big 500-600 homes come in here, the first thing they're going to do is go to the school system on Monday morning when they get here.
Right.
And sign their kids up. So we got to have more classrooms, da da da. Well, then the sheriff's department, everybody, it affects everything.
Right.
Animal control, EMA,
Yeah.
and it's obviously it's not, all these people is not paying for itself in a lot of ways. Like when we moved here, we moved on 8 acres. Well, my neighbor, they moved beside us on 8 acres. Well, now those 8 acres, how many homes they putting on 16 acres?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so that's been a little bit of a problem. So I wish we could manage that a little bit better. But you know, we just take it month by month and try to make it work, you know, and we try to save the taxpayers as much as we can, you know.
Okay. Well, in the time we've got left, not a lot of time, we covered a lot of ground, and I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Is there any advice you'd like to give to maybe a young person coming up, trying to figure out what they want to do with their career, or if they have an interest, or maybe it's an older person who's had a career and looking for something to do? Maybe they would think about running for office. What kind of advice would you point out to somebody?
You know, it's a good thing to, you know, it's always good to try to help your community out, you know.
Right.
And so, you know, you just got to get out and get to talking to people. And, you know, I kind of waited I didn't really realize I was going to do it till 3 months before the election, or, you know,
Right.
6 months, say. But, you know, you just got to get out and get to know people. And that was one good thing about having a family business is, you know, we're all around the area and stuff.
Right.
And so I knew a lot of people and
Right.
stuff. But it's definitely I'd encourage anybody to do it, you know.
Right.
It's good for your community, and, you know, it's home, you know.
Well, that's part about giving back to home, and you've been doing that since you were 12 years old.
Yes, sir.
With the lights. But listen, something I do want to say thank you is to give you a little commemorative coffee cup
Oh,
for being
thank you.
here on the show.
Yes, sir.
And thank you for sharing your time with
Yeah,
us.
thank you.
Look
Appreciate
forward
you, what you do.
All right, and tell folks to be sure and come by East Old LaGarda Road and check out the Christmas tree lights.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.